Hey everyone, this is Sam over at the Foot Whisperer Reflexology Institute here with another foot reflexology technique video. This is an important one because we're going to learn how to walk the upper and lower digestive reflexes, also known as horizontal zones 3 and 4. Technique is a little bit tricky. Mapping is definitely something that needs to be practiced over and over again, and you need to know a little bit of anatomy. So before we get started on the technique, let's go over some mapping and also how we're going to walk this technique. Enjoy. Okay, everybody, so now let's talk about the digestive reflexes. Just like in previous videos, we've got to map it. So for these reflexes, we only need our diaphragm, waistline, and pelvic guideline. So our diaphragm reflex is just below the ball of the foot. Boop. Then our waistline guideline reflex is going to be finding the proximal head of the fifth metatarsal and tracing that across, which is basically that bump on the outside of the foot. You can actually see it really nicely on this picture. It really points out some knee issues in this person. Anyway, that's beside the point. Then our pelvic guideline, which is really where the heel starts to meld with the arch. Technically, it's also the most proximal point of the triangular shaped cuboid notch, but that's advanced stuff. Okay, so from a technique standpoint, let's talk about how we're going to do this. Actually, we should probably talk about reflexes first before we muddy it up with directional arrows. So right to right, left to left, which means that all of the digestive organs on the right side are going to be on the right foot. All of the reflexes for the digestive organs on the left side represent left side anatomy as well. So on the left side, we have the stomach reflex, but also right here on certain maps, you'll also see the spleen reflex. And then on most maps, you'll see this wonderful kind of squiggly horizontal blob, which sometimes goes over here too, which is pancreas. Okay, so stomach and liver on the other side really traverse the entire reflex area, but we'll write it over here. And then you'll also see this tiny little circle on some maps, which is gallbladder, and we'll just abbreviate that as GB. Okay. Then as we go into the lower digestive reflexes, really important to understand, again, it's small intestine in the middle, which is basically a squiggle of small intestine, because nobody can really map the small intestine because it's all in a big old jumble. But then we have the ascending half of transverse on the right, and then the other half of transverse on the left, and then the descending colon. In some maps, you'll actually see it go into the sigmoid flexure as well. It just depends on what map you're looking at. But again, you can see how upper core stays the same as it is in the body. We have liver, gallbladder on right, stomach, spleen, pancreas on left. A little bit of traversing happening with pancreas. Stay in your zone, pancreas. And then we have ascending, transverse, descending, sigmoid flexure in the reflexes as well. Don't want to muddy that up because we're about to draw our directionals to work. So really covering this entire arch area, very important for technique, but also know your reflexes. Ooh, I'm shaking the camera. Know your reflexes, very important, especially with the digestive reflexes from a palpation standpoint. Know where you're walking, and that really brings us to our technique. So the same technique will be done on both Zone 3 and Zone 4, the upper and lower digestive reflexes. But we do need to know our guidelines because we're going to walk them separately. Not because we couldn't walk them all at the same time, but just from a focus standpoint, you want to know where you are at any given time. So we're going to start in the upper digestive reflexes, and what we're going to do is we're going to walk from the fifth toe or fifth vertical zone to the third toe or third vertical zone 3 times each. 3 times. Shift a thumbs width down, again, horizontally walk 3 times, and again, horizontally walk 3 times. This is the thickest part of the foot, so we are actually going to walk this twice, but then we have this really nasty plantar tendon, and we can't horizontally pass through the plantar tendon, and this area does not feel good because it's all vascular. It doesn't feel good being walked horizontally. We only walk that vertically, which you'll see in the video. Okay, After that, we're going to switch to a vertical direction, and we're going to start at the waistline guideline and vertically walk up. Like how I did that fancy trick with the markers going over each other, but you can still see it. 3 times each. Bam. And that gives us a full outline of the upper digestive reflexes with room to palpate and really get into that area. The arch needs a little bit more time. There's a lot of really intricate tissues here, so really take your time with this technique. But then once you walk horizontal zone 3, we're going to do the same thing in 4, starting below the waistline guideline this time. 3 horizontal rows, 3 times each. From the 5th to the 3rd toe, stopping at that nasty plantar tendon. No plantar tendon. Okay? Then, switching your hands and switching to a vertical orientation with your walk. Thumb walking 3 times each, in line with each toe, to cap off our technique. And that is how we walk the digestive reflexes on both feet. So we start with spine, then go to toes, dorsal aspect, then ball of the foot, which is our last video. And now we're going to do the digestive reflexes. Really important to take your time here, starting with that horizontal walk, then shifting to your vertical, moving to zone 4, horizontal walk again, vertical walk again. Everything is 3 times. Really take it easy, take it slow. And here is the video for you to watch. Finding the diaphragm guideline first, and then finding the proximal head of the 5th metatarsal for the waistline guideline. This will start and outline horizontal zone 3, where we're walking first. With your outside hand, start your 3 horizontal rows from vertical zone 5 to vertical zone 3, 3 times, stopping at that plantar tendon. Shift to thumbs width down and repeat those same 3 horizontal walks 3 times each. We'll do that one more time, thumbs width down as well. And at the end, you are right over that waistline guideline at that proximal head of the 5th metatarsal. Then we're going to switch our hands so that we can do our vertical walk. This also prevents our hands from getting too tired, but we're just walking up each vertical zone only in horizontal zone 3, 3 times. Moving to each consecutive zone. Here we're in vertical zone 4. And again, just to reinforce the mapping, here we're over the liver and gallbladder reflexes. Also, as we get a little bit more medial, we'll touch on that pancreas reflex. But this is really upper digestive on the right side. Really important to note where you're walking with these reflexes on any given side. We're only going to be showing you the right view, but this is exactly how you would do it on the left. Just switching the hands, keeping the outside and the inside, walking each zone as we do it. Finishing up vertical zone 2 in horizontal zone 3, and then moving to vertical zone 1 in horizontal zone 3. 3 passes. This one is probably the most sensitive. Then we're moving to horizontal zone 4, starting from the waistline guideline to the pelvic guideline is horizontal zone 4. We're going to lift the heel a little bit just to keep our leverage nice, and then start with those 3 horizontal walks 3 times each. The leverage is really important here, especially as we get lower into the feet. In future videos, you'll really see me emphasize leverage as we get into that heel space because it is so low. So this is a preview of how we would use a lift to increase leverage. Notice we're not really lifting the foot super high, but it's just enough to get into literally the belly of these reflexes. Switching hands and walking from that pelvic guideline to the waistline guideline, starting in vertical zone 5 3 times, then moving in each consecutive zone 3 times. Here we're in horizontal zone 4, which is all lower GI reflexes. But remember, we have the small intestine clustered in the middle, and then we have on this foot the ascending and half of the transverse colon reflex, Then on the opposite, we have the other half of transverse reflex, and then the lower ascending, or descending rather, colon reflex. Just again, being very aware of where you're walking and understand the basic mapping principles of reflexology as you apply the technique. Finishing up with vertical zone 1 in horizontal zone 4, and this will complete our walk of the digestive reflexes. Hope you enjoyed the technique video, and definitely like, share, and subscribe.